to go ahead and start it on Facebook. All right. YouTube is up. We're good. It was great. We're good. We're live. We're good. We're live. We're good. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Boeing is innocent until proven guilty. You might be surprised what's going to come out tomorrow. I foresee analysts coming out and defending their price targets. What a coincidence. We called the bottom recently as well. I think this stock is poised to get back over the $400 mark. We're going to discuss all that and more. I am Mark Melnick. This is the Newsbeat Show. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Newsbeat Show. Not going to take much of your time tonight. Just very simple here. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to discuss something that is very important here in Boeing and why this stock is going to rebound back. Has this stock been unfairly beaten up? I believe it has, and I believe it's going to be one of the key stocks to watch for tomorrow and the day after this week. But before we get into all of that, as well as our Newsbeat Live algorithmic levels in which we share with you daily and so much more. First, by watching this video, you are agreeing to hold me, Mark Melnick, and T3 Live harmless, not responsible for anything that you might hear, see, think, dream, feel, smell. Can you smell? On this video, if you do not agree to that, you must exit this video immediately. So, thank you so much for agreeing to that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Boeing here for a second. We're just going to go into some after hours quotes right now. Stock hit as high as 399.50, pulled back $7.50 at the moment to around $392, which is still a little over $7 higher than where it closed at the moment. Anything can happen, but I want to really talk about why this happened with Boeing and what exactly happened here. Well, there's an anti-stall. So if you're not familiar with the Boeing story, there were some major tragedies around the world with their airplanes. I mean, they went ahead and they've gotten, there are a lot of deaths. Some of their airplanes crashed down. And what happens is there's an anti-stall software that is installed on the planes. And with this Ethiopian Airlines jet, it pushed the jet downwards after the pilots initially turned it off due to suspect data from an airflow sensor. Now, I'll admit, I do not build and fix airplanes to tell you exactly what kind of data an airflow sensor would give and what's the proper protocol. But what happened was the crew redeployed this this software system, which is it's called an MCAS system, which is designed to push the nose of the aircraft down to prevent a stall, but which is suspected of exacerbating a different scenario linked to our two recent crashes. So a person came out with knowledge of the aircraft, said the system can't reactivate itself unless it's prompted by pilots. Now, let me tell you the importance of that verbiage, because if you are blaming the pilots for causing this to happen, guess who that takes away liability from, or at least a large portion of the liability from? Boeing warned against speculation ahead of a preliminary report. Again, we do look for evidence to come out before we go ahead and we point fingers saying Boeing did something wrong. Of course, the stock has already reacted phenomenally negatively ever since these recent events in Boeing. Just to show you the daily chart here, you can see the stock closed at $422. I see my face is a little bit frozen there. We're going to just go ahead and fix that. So you can see that Boeing right over here closed at $422 right here on March 8th. And then what happens is the very next day, it literally dropped to $365. So that's about a $60 drop in one day. It rallied, pulled down, went lower, even hit 361.53. That's over a 60-point drop, which is for Boeing massive. And the stock has quite a run, and it just really gotten beaten up ever since all these two recent tragedies with their aircrafts had occurred. So Ethiopia is due to release its first report on Thursday. So obviously there's a complete investigation into this. People want to know what the heck happened with these airplanes. So um, there were no significant new technical issues emerged in the Ethiopian investigation beyond those already being addressed by Boeing through updated software in the aftermath of the Lion Air crash. People close within the Ethiopian investigation said the anti-stall software, which automatically pushes the aircraft's nose down to guard against a loss of lift, was activated. You ready? Was activated by erroneous angle of attack data from a single sensor. So, so this is what's happening. I could break this down really in English, and let me just get one more part, and then I'll tell you in layman's terms what is happening here. Basically, the pilots disabled this system, this MCAS system. It was in line with part of a cockpit checklist procedure, but then appeared to start working again before the jet plunged to the ground. This is what they're claiming. And this is what Ethiopia is claiming by they, not Boeing. A directive issued after the Indonesian crash instructed pilots to use two cutout switches to disengage the system in the event of problems and then leave them switched off. So there are reasons to do this. The key question is, did the pilots at the helm of the Ethiopian Airlines disengage the MCAS system, and did they do it too late to regain control of the aircraft? So let me just break this down in really true layman's terms. There's a system that tries to help you in case the airplane isn't lifting properly. And I guess one of the procedures is to bend the nose of the airplane, the front of the craft, downwards to prevent the loss of lift as you're lifting up. So we don't know if the pilots erroneously, in error, disengaged, switched off. It's literally, from what I'm reading, a switch where they literally switch off the system, turned it off erroneously, and then were the cause of the airplane crashing. Now, again, tragedy wise, my heart, my hopes, my prayers go out to every single person whose lives were negatively impacted based on a loved one or somebody they knew going on that plane and losing their life. That is a horrible thing. From Boeing's perspective, this is exactly what they want to hear. So Boeing could do safeguards in the future that could prevent this from happening, and they could like update their software. And I will tell you, with technology, you have to remember at the end of the day, it's all made by humans. So it doesn't surprise me that something like this can happen. There was some form of protocol that made these pilots turn off this MCAS system, and it literally happened both times in the Indonesian crash and the Ethiopian crash that caused this plane to crash. Now, I will tell you right now, it is going to be extremely difficult to prove what happens. Why? There are really no witnesses, for lack of a better term, that were on the airplane. They died. It's terrible. There's no witnesses. You can't really ask them what they did. But that's why, of course, the planes have black boxes and they could see if they turned it on or whether it switched back on automatically. I hate to say it, the people who are going to have full access to that data is Boeing, not the Ethiopian investigators, not the Indonesian investigators. When it comes to software protocol like that, the people who are going to have the answers is Boeing. So what you basically did in this tragic event is you're actually shifting the power, the one up, if you will, from the Ethiopian hands who had the plane, had the black box, which is the recording part of the plane that tells basically everything that goes through and what happened. And you're basically giving that power back over to Boeing because Boeing could come out and simply claim the pilots, mistreated the system. They were supposed to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they did H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. They could come out and plausibly now say something like that. And if that is the case, they could just say, yeah, the pilot screwed up. We're doing a software update anyway. It won't happen again, even if the pilots do screw up, and we took care of the issue, but it's not our fault. As soon as you say that, you release the fear of every single person flying on these Boeing planes again. And if you look at Boeing for where it's trading now compared to where it was, Boeing is definitely, definitely took a near-term beating, while the triple Qs are right near all-time highs, while the spiders are right near all-time highs. Boeing definitely did not participate in the recent rally. So again, if you look right now on Boeing, it's currently up about just a little under $8 at the moment after hours. It's putting in this big bull flag. You're going to have to watch Boeing tomorrow. You're going to walk in, there's going to be an absurd amount of pre-market volume. And since I do have a time machine, I figure I'll cheat for you guys just one more time. You're going to see every single analyst, their mothers, their friends, their neighbors' pets. They're going to all come out tomorrow and say, blah 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 might have not have been Boeing's fault. Blah 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 blah. Boeing is still a solid company, and we are reiterating our insert $400+ target here. We are reiterating our 420, 440, 450, 460, 470 target here, and they're going to come out and they're going to defend their analysis because the analysts were waiting for an excuse to defend them. Now, think about it. You have to put yourself in the analyst's shoes, and I'll tell you why this is happening. Besides the fact that I cheated, went into the future, found out this information, and then simply coming back and telling you. With that being said, you have to think about it from the analyst perspective. Here you have a stock, and I'm explaining to you why they're doing this tomorrow. If you want to know why I feel this way and why they are inevitably going to do it, and I proved it because I already cheated and went into the future. So $446.01 was the all-time high. You had analysts with 450, 460, 470, $500 targets in Boeing. And they looked like they had egg on their face when this happened. So when this happened, everybody in the firm's looking over at whoever is their Boeing analyst saying, well, what do you think now? What's happening? They're pissed off. All those analysts are pissed off tremendously because they all look like idiots in front of their boss. They're like, oh my God, I put a $500 target on this thing and now it's in the 380s and it dropped down, 20% off the all time highs and even more than that. My God, dropped, what, 80 points? About 20%, maybe a little, about approximately 20% off the all-time highs. The market kept going up. They have egg on their face. Now that this report comes out, and it's a simple Reuters article. Um, well, now that this report is out there, they're going to come out tomorrow and they're going to say, "You see, boss, I told you. Market overreacted. This is a buying opportunity at these levels. I'm reiterating my targets on Boeing. This is not going to be anything financially meaningful in a negative way for this company. And I am reiterating my bullish targets. And that is exactly what you're going to see tomorrow. If you remember when we called the bottom of Boeing, if you actually remember, oh, there goes my face, frozen again, frozen in time. It's a time traveler thing we have issues with. If you remember when the Boeing was right here in the 370s, we called the bottom of Boeing. Ever since we did that, it pretty much dropped 14 points ever since I said Boeing's going to bottom. It dropped 14 points, and from there it exploded 35 points approximately. So down 14, up 35. It's a volatile name. I totally get it. But with news like this coming out, if the Ethiopian investigators aren't going to be able to prove beyond a far reasonable doubt that this thing was more pilot sensitive than Boeing's airplane sensitive, it's going to make Boeing look like an innocent victim in this industry with pilots who did not react to the protocols correctly. And the most important thing that you have to know is they could claim whatever they want through the black boxes, but when it comes to the software and actually looking at the code and actually looking at what happened, there's only one company who has access to that, and it's Boeing. So Boeing could really, I'm not saying they will, but let's just between you and I, there was an investigation into your company over these crashes and you have the software. They could basically point the finger at anyone they want. And from a shareholder perspective, and I'm not a shareholder of Boeing, but if I was, you would want Boeing to point the finger at the pilots of the Ethiopian Airlines and at the pilots of the Indonesian Airlines where the accidents occurred. And yes, they're doing it. Look, they'll say, look, we'll prevent people in the future from doing this, but it was their fault. So as a result, Boeing very bullish. Let's talk about some levels in Boeing here. Very important level to watch tomorrow, 394.83. A break at that level can get you a potential target of 402.67. And once you get back above 402.67, there's a gap fill to $415.50. It's a massive gap fill. Again, even insinuating levels like 415 is insinuating a 30-point pop in Boeing off today's close. So um, a lot of critical levels there. That's why I think we have to watch Boeing. While I was in the future, I said, why not get you guys some algorithmic levels? So I went ahead and I copied down the lows and highs, I mean the support and resistance tomorrow for the Qs, spiders, IWM, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. These levels do not always hit, but when they do, I tend to have an easier time making money when I buy when my support level hits and breaks, and I have an easier time making money when my resistance level hits and breaks by going long or short stock or buying calls or puts respectively. So definitely keep an eye on Boeing. I think it's a very interesting story here. I think we're getting lots of like revelations out there and new data and things that are going to really shine a light on this company. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the Newsbeat show. Happy trading, make money, and I'll see you guys tomorrow on the Newsbeat live trading broadcast. Have a wonderful evening.